And I'm John Sable. As expected, a heated face-off between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton in a 2-hour debate in Washington University in St. Louis.
And of course, the first order of business, that controversial audio tape just released of Trump making lewd comments about women. Tonight, our Kara Mashik is breaking down all the key issues with our political analyst, Dr. Susan McManus. Good evening to you both.
Well, you know, as you talked about, Serena, and we knew this was going to come right off the top, right out of the gate. We got to that controversial audio tape, those controversial comments, derogatory ones about women that Donald Trump had made. And really, this goes back to the heart of so much of what we heard about him in this campaign. Can he really lead a positive campaign and talk about, you know, the voters that he needs to win the vote of?
Well, he certainly made a good segue by immediately saying, let's set that aside. I've made mistakes. I apologize. It was terrible. And went straight to ISIS. And that would be the best thing that he could have done, was to make that segue and try to change the subject a bit. But of course, he had the women who had accused Bill Clinton of sexual misconduct sitting right there in the audience and had a press concert ahead of time. So in a way, he put Hillary Clinton on the defensive on that subject, which was very clever. It just shows how much he knows about the news media, grabbing attention of it before it happened. And, but of course, it's still a big issue. It's not going to die just because he made a segue.
And of course, as you said, he really was eager to kind of deflect from this issue. He talked about ISIS. He wanted to move on. Let's take a quick listen to what he had to say.
Yes, I'm very embarrassed by it. I hate it, but it's locker room talk, and it's one of those things.
Mr.
And
Trump,
we should get on to much more important things and much bigger things.
And of course, Hillary Clinton wanting to make the point, as she has really from the very beginning of this campaign, that this is really further evidence that he doesn't deserve to be president, that he's an unfit leader.
Right.
You know, with prior Republican nominees for president, I disagreed with them on politics, policies, principles, but I never questioned their fitness to serve. Donald Trump is different. I said starting back in June that he was not fit to be president and commander-in-chief.
And when you think about, you know, this debate as a whole and what these two candidates had to come in here and what they needed to do tonight to keep their base and to try to maybe even win over some of those undecideds, did they make any progress there? What do you think that they were able to accomplish tonight in each of these candidates' cases?
Answer after answer after answer, what they did was to list their talking points, the things that really have mattered to them on the campaign trail for their base. I doubt you're going to see a whole lot of movement in the polls, but I have to say the most refreshing part of the entire evening was the last question, where the moderator said, can you say something nice about your opponent? And they both came up with wonderful answers, and I'm sure most of the viewers say, hallelujah. There's something nice and something positive about this campaign, because up to this point it has been, in the minds of many, many Americans, below the level that we expect of a presidential debate.
And when we look at some of the things that we've been seeing trending tonight, of course, this has been a topic in the campaign all along, the emails. It came back down to the emails. This was probably one of the more fiery exchanges we heard all night. Let's take a listen.
So we're going to get a special prosecutor, and we're going to look into it, because you know what? People have been... their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done, and it's a disgrace.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
That one definitely picking up a lot of steam online. We've got the Twitter board here behind us. And of course, when you think about this race and even this debate, this was a prime example of this. We haven't had an opportunity for other people to chime in on some of these things. You heard a few boos and cheers from the audience tonight, but this was supposed to be a town hall, and we really didn't get a lot of interaction from the audience to put in their 2 cents in this process.
I guarantee you that was one of the most disappointing aspects of the whole evening. Promoting it as a town hall meeting, and it was hardly that. And we hardly even got to see the faces and the emotions of the people that were selected for the audience. You know, you want to see how they're reacting to the candidates making all these statements, and you just simply didn't get that at all. It was not a town hall meeting in the more traditional sense that we would have wanted.
All right, so a big question. Obviously, we know this is going to continue to be talked about and generate more discussion, but where do we go from here? We're about a month away from Election Day right now, just a couple weeks left. So what do these candidates need to accomplish? They've got one more face-to-face meeting to really drive home and sell themselves to the voters who ultimately are going to decide this whole thing.
Well, guess where they're coming immediately?
Florida.
And you have to win Florida, especially Donald Trump. You have to win Florida or you can't win the White House. But the fact that both of these candidates are heading straight to Florida speaks to what we here already know, is that Florida is the most important swing state in the whole country yet again. And I guarantee you we'll see them in the Tampa area a couple more times before the election.
All right. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us and for your insight. And, of course, the fact checker is going to be hard at work, and you can tune in for more PolitiFact coming up tomorrow morning on ABC Action News. Serena.